Hey everyone, we're back today with a new video. We're going to make homemade cordon bleu with our air fryer. And we're going to start this new recipe. To start the recipe, of course, it's always my way. I took 2 chicken cutlets. So you can either keep them whole and flatten them with a rolling pin, but I prefer to blend my pieces of chicken. So for that, I'm going to cut them into small cubes and then put them in my blender with the spices. So first step, if you want to do everything like me, and I recommend you try my recipe because it's excellent, you cut the chicken into small cubes, ladies and gentlemen. I took 2 small chicken cutlets, but you can make a larger quantity if you want, that's no problem. Once you've cut your pieces of chicken, put them in a blender or food processor and we're going to season them. We're going to add a bit of salt to your liking, some garlic powder according to your taste. You don't have to do exactly as I do, and a little black pepper. For the spices, roughly a teaspoon, but adjust the amount to your preference. And finally, some paprika or mild chili powder. And you blend your pieces of chicken with the spices for 20 to 30 seconds, just enough to get a meat filling. Once blended, you transfer your filling onto a plate. So roughly, I had about 300 grams of chicken breast. That's to make 2 cordons bleus for my kids' lunch. If you want, you can absolutely double the quantities. Now I'm going to divide my filling in 2 and make 2 balls. I'll set 1 ball aside and flatten the other one right now. You'll see everything. If you're having trouble handling the filling, you can always wet your hands a bit. Here, I have a small bowl of water ready, so it doesn't stick to my fingers if you like. Press the circle down firmly to flatten it on the baking paper. I've moistened my hands now. Try to flatten it thinly, this cordon bleu, or rather this circle. It's a very easy recipe and much better than store-bought ones. There you go, look, I've made a big circle like this with my chicken. Next, add the ham of your choice. You can use larger slices of ham than I am. I only have slices of beef ham, small circles like this. It's kind of like bacon. So I'm going to put 2, since mine are a bit small, but otherwise just use the ham of your choice. And try to use good quality cheese, whatever you like. Raclette, Gouda, Emmental. Since I'm in Tunisia and we don't really have much choice when it comes to cheese here, I'm going to use a slice of processed cheese. But believe me, it will be much better with real good cheese. This is really just to show you the recipe. You can substitute with whatever you want. It's mainly to give you the cooking instructions and show you the method I use. Once you've placed your ham and cheese, all you have to do is fold your cordon bleu in half to close it. And for that, use the baking paper to help you. It will be much easier with the baking paper. And once you've made a half circle, like a crescent, moisten your fingers well and seal the edges tightly so the ham and cheese don't escape. Be a little meticulous. Normally, nothing should leak out. It has a very nice shape, a perfect size. Look, you should end up with a half moon, ladies and gentlemen, like this. Now, I'm going to do the same thing to make the second one, but this one I'll put in the freezer so it firms up a bit and it's easier to bread it afterwards. So once you've made your first cordon bleu, put it in the freezer, then do the same with the second, the third, 5 or 10 minutes in the freezer. Look, once they're shaped, they have a perfect size and thickness. We're going to leave them in the freezer for 5 or 10 minutes and then we'll bread them. I'll explain everything about how to bread them and then we can move on to cooking. So here, it's just to cool them down a bit so they don't fall apart even though they're very well shaped. They look just like the ones from the store. It's just so they firm up a little to make it easier for you. After 5 or 10 minutes, take your cordon bleu out of the freezer and set up 3 shallow plates in front of you. 1 plate with breadcrumbs. So my breadcrumbs are already seasoned. I found these breadcrumbs at the store. The packaging caught my eye. I always fall for the packaging. Look how appetizing it looks. I don't know if you can see it well. Anyway, I didn't add any extra spices to my breadcrumbs, if you want to know. They already smell like spices, and it clearly says on the package that there are spices in it. On the other hand, I cracked 2 eggs into a shallow dish. There I added salt and pepper, and I prepared another shallow dish with flour, to which I added salt, pepper, and paprika. Now it's going to be very simple. We're going to dip the first cordon bleu in the flour. I'm explaining it to you, but I think you all know how to bread something. You graduated from Saint-Cyr, so you know how to bread cordon bleus, right? Make sure to coat it well with flour all over. Then dip your cordon bleu in the beaten eggs. I used 2 eggs, just so you know. And finally, put it in the breadcrumbs. And we'll see if we repeat the process a second time to make sure it's well coated with breadcrumbs. Once I've coated it well, I dip it again in the beaten egg and then a second time in the breadcrumbs, so it's really well covered. Of course, you should wear gloves. You shouldn't do it like me with your bare hands, but I didn't have any gloves, so I'm more comfortable using my hands, if I can put it that way. Take the large basket of your Cosori TwinFry or your usual air fryer and place the first cordon bleu inside. Then do the same with all your cordon bleus. So first, back and forth in the flour, then beaten egg, breadcrumbs, and for more crispness and deliciousness, beaten egg again and breadcrumbs again so that it is completely coated and the breading holds well, especially. That's the most important thing, that it's nice and crispy and well coated. A real cordon bleu. You need a small oil spray bottle or, like me, the old-fashioned way, a good brush with a little oil for frying. You don't have to, it's completely optional, but the result will be better if you use a brush to apply a tiny bit of oil to the surface. They will be, if you like, nice and... In fact, they'll already look nicer visually, they'll be more golden and maybe not crispier, but they'll definitely look much better. And then with a little touch of oil, it's always a bit tastier, let's say. Brush the breadcrumbs well like this. If your air fryer only has one heating element, you'll need to flip them halfway through cooking. And if, like mine, it has 4 heating elements, you won't have to flip them halfway through. But personally, I still flip them halfway through so that they're nicely golden on both sides, because the bottom elements are smaller than the top ones. You see what I mean? So, for a perfect result, I'll still flip them 3 or 4 minutes before the end. That's enough. All right, let's get started. For cooking, it's very simple. We'll use the large zone since I removed the removable divider. I select the air fry mode at 190 degrees for 16 to 18 minutes. I'm going to set it for 16 minutes. Here we go. I'll tell you the exact time at the end of the cooking. I'll keep an eye on them. See you in 16 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, for the result. Here's the result after 18 minutes of cooking. So I set it for a total of 18 minutes. However, I didn't flip them. And look, the bottom is just as well cooked as the top, see? So I actually didn't flip them halfway through cooking, as you can see. Look, you can see the marks from the air fryer. Look, there you go. But they're nicely browned on the bottom too. I'm going to take them out and show you the inside. Let's cut them open, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to this breading, it's really good. It's nice and crispy, and now I'm going to cut it. Let's check the inside. Look, there you go. The cheese is oozing out. Not bad, right? Take a closer look at the result. Of course, I sincerely hope you'll use a much better quality cheese than mine. Not this rather plastic burger cheese, but the final result is truly super satisfying. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the result of incredible homemade cordon bleu you can make in your air fryers. And I'll see you very soon for more tests and new recipes. Bye!